On the 12th of August 2024, after a century underwater, the Deep Sea Explorer Group, lost in waters deep, who had travelled on the diving support vessel, the MV Kalasina, announced the discovery of the wreck of the naval cruiser HMS Hawke, which sank off the east of Farranborough, Scotland. And forgive me if I pronounce names wrong. If the name sounds familiar, you know that she was famous for the collision involving her and the RMS Olympic, sister ship to the RMS Titanic in 1911. However, we won't go into too much detail here as there's already been a video on the incident. A link to that video will be in the card above. Instead, we are going to be focusing on her sinking, which occurred during the first year of World War I. While she might not be famous for her military career, she would become a cruel victim to the German submersible U-9 while she was in the North Sea. This is the tragic sinking of the HMS Hawke. To understand the Hawke's story, we need to give a small description of her life before the war. The HMS Hawke was a British warship that was constructed in 1889 at the Cheltenham Dockyard, a Royal Navy dockyard which is famous for building ships and maintaining them for the British naval fleet. She had been an Edgar-class cruiser and her purpose was to serve in many British squadron and command as a training ship for boys. However, this would all change thanks to a certain event which would change her career. In 1914, the world went to war, and it didn't take long before the tensions had risen high between Britain and Germany. When the First World War began, Germany pursued a highly effective U-boat campaign against merchant shipping. By February 1915, Germany declared a war zone around Britain. The aim of this was for submersibles to travel in British waters and to attack merchant ships and naval cruisers without warning. However, before all of this happened, and back in the early months of the First World War, the HMS Hawke became part of the 10th Cruiser Squadron, operating on blockade duties between the Shetland Islands and Norway. However, the squadron would be deployed further south in the North Sea to stop German warships from attacking a troop convoy from Canada. On the 15th of October 1914, the squadron was on patrol off the coast of Aberdeen, Scotland. Joining the squadron was the HMS Hawke, where she and her sister ship, the HMS Edelman, forgive me for pronouncing the name, stopped 60 miles off the coast of Aberdeen to collect mail in the early morning. Once both ships had collected the mail, the Hawke continued her return to her station to avoid danger. She hadn't been zigzagging during her journey, though this would prove fatal as she was travelling further away from the squadron. At approximately 10:30 a.m, U-9 spotted the Hawke and launched one torpedo which directly hit the Hawke. With a single hit from U-9, the Hawke caught fire which led to an explosion. Only 2 lifeboats were launched before she sank 8 minutes later. Upon learning the news of the Hawke's disappearance, the squadron dispatched the destroyer Swift to search for survivors. During the search, the crew found a raft carrying 22 men and a lifeboat carrying a further 49 men rescued by a Norwegian steamer. Out of the nearly 600 men on board, 524 didn't survive, including the Hawke's captain, Hugh Williams. Only 74 survived. While it's not clear how she sank, it's hoped that her discovery would answer unknown questions that could lead to new evidence to suggest how the Hawke sank and what was the damage from U-9's torpedo. She is still known for another reason, but it is hoped that the Hawke story would gain public interest over a century later.